Welcome to the MT37 Bridge Preservation Project open house. We'll begin the open house here shortly. We're waiting for some attendees to populate into the room before we get started. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start now. My name is Brandon Coates, and I am a public involvement consultant with RBCI, working with the Montana Department of Transportation. And I'd like to thank you for joining us for the online open house and live question and answer session about the MT37 Bridge Preservation Project. The Montana Department of Transportation is using online meetings and presentations to engage with the public rather than in-person meetings due to community health and safety concerns during the COVID-19 pandemic. We do look forward to meeting in person again in the future. During the online session, MDT and project team members will provide an overview of the project, present anticipated repairs, and talk about the next steps in the project. A live question and answer session will be held immediately following the presentation to answer your questions. To participate in that Q&A session, locate the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. It'll allow you to type in and submit questions during the presentation. We will hold all questions and answer them after the presentation. Again, that Q&A button is at the bottom of your screen. You should be able to click on it and type in questions. Please submit them during the presentation and following the presentation. The online sessions will be recorded, and a copy of this recording will be posted on the project website. We invite you to please invite your neighbors and coworkers and friends that couldn't attend the session to view the presentation and participate in an online survey by visiting www.mdt.mt.gov/pubinvolve/MT37bridge. I'll post that address again at the end of the presentation. The online survey will be available until November 1st. Now I'm going to turn over the microphone to the MDT District Administrator from the Missoula District, Bob Vosen.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Sorry that we can't be holding this meeting in person. I would much prefer to be meeting people face to face, but in today's times, this is the second best thing or the best thing we can come up with to be able to share information about this project with you. So as Brandon had said, my name is Bob Vosen. I'm the district administrator for the Montana Department of Transportation's Missoula District, which is generally Western Montana. I've got an office in Missoula and one in Kalispell. With me today, I believe we've got a couple other members of the MDT team. So if I could get them to introduce themselves. Terry, are you here today?
Yes, I am. This is Terry Voller. I also work for MDT in the Helena main office. And my basic function on this project is to work to administer the contract with Forestgren and RBCI, and to basically be the liaison between those two consultants and MDT.
All right, and one other member of the team that's not here today is Jacqueline Smith. She is the Missoula District Pre-Construction Engineer. So if you do have questions in the future that you send in, you may get a response from Jacqueline as well. So with that, I'll continue on with our presentation. Again, thanks for joining us. MDT's mission is to serve the public by providing a safe transportation system and services that emphasize quality, safety, cost effectiveness, economic vitality, and sensitivity to the environment. MDT maintains a staff with resources and technical expertise needed to perform the workload for the majority of our transportation projects. When we are running short, or if we need a little bit more technical expertise than what we have in-house, we hire consultants to do specific project work. Consultants are an extension of our staff, capable of providing additional skills, experience, expertise, and quality work without increasing our in-house staff. They're managed by our MDT consultant design engineer, and they work together with MDT project teams and management to deliver our projects. So I'm going to let each of the individuals that are going to be speaking today introduce themselves, and they can explain their role in a project. I already shared with you that Jacqueline Smith is our pre-construction engineer, and she has general oversight over the projects in Western Montana. Terry's already introduced himself. Andy, are you here today?
This is Andy Carlson. I also work for MDT. I'm in the Helena office. I'm the Missoula District Bridge Engineer, and my role is just to check the plans and help the consultants and make sure everything's in accordance with how the state, the Bridge Bureau here at MDT wants to see things.
Thanks, Andy. And Brent.
Thanks. My name is Brent Schiller. I'm with Forsgren Associates, and I'm our team's project manager.
Thanks, Brent. And Adam?
Thank you, Bob. I'm Adam Bass with Forsgren Associates, and I was involved with the traffic control for these bridges.
Thanks, Adam. How about Pat?
Hi, this is Pat Wickman with Forsgren Associates. I am an environmental scientist working on the environmental baseline for the project.
Thanks, Pat. And Kate.
Hello, I'm Kate Reed. I work with RBCI and going to be helping with the Q&A session today.
All right, thank you, everyone. Now, if we can move on to the next slide, please. A little bit about the project. MDT was in the early stages of evaluating the bridges shown on the screen here. Most of these bridges were built in the 70s as part of the Lake Koocanusa Dam project. Some of the lower bridges were built actually in the late 50s. So these bridges have been in place and served the citizens of Montana very well. But they're aging, and we need to do some of it's routine upkeep, and some of it's maybe a little bit more substantial. I want to stress that these bridges are all still safe to drive on, but we want to get out there, identify the repairs that need to be made, and what we need to do to keep them functional and to obtain as much service life as possible, again, to work towards getting the best bang for the taxpayers' dollars. So there's a couple different things we're going to be doing to these bridges that the team will be describing later. But at this point, you can kind of view it as routine maintenance on your car. We've got a couple levels. Like I said, some of these bridges are due for an oil change, if you will, while some of the other ones are more in need of more of that 100,000-mile service, which is a little bit more substantial. But again, the bridges will continue to serve us well if we provide some of the heavy maintenance to them. So one other thing that I do want to point out, there's 11 bridges shown on Highway 37, and we've actually got one other bridge that's going to be tied to these bridges, so down on Highway 200, just south of Noxon. So when we tie our projects together like this, we see several benefits. One of them is there's some reduced cost, economy of scale, and reduced mobilization costs of the contractor. We also see consistency in construction. Also, there's a little bit of developing a method and a process going forward. So there's efficiencies for the contractors by getting multiple bridges of the same type of work in the same area. It also allows us to speed up the process. The one contractor can have different crews doing different parts of the work simultaneously on each bridge and kind of working down the road, if you will. And finally, from an administration standpoint for MDT, it allows us to oversee the construction work taking place with fewer staff members. So again, we're saving costs there. So at this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Andy, and he's going to discuss a little bit about the anticipated schedule and the process to get these bridges moving towards the next steps. So Andy?
Thanks, Bob. All right, so it was decided to organize the project schedule and process into a two-phase approach, an evaluation phase and a design phase. The evaluation phase started earlier this year and included office and field evaluations of each bridge. All of the information from the evaluations was carefully considered to develop repair and rehabilitation needs and was documented in a draft bridge report. The intent of this public meeting is to share the findings and recommendations in the draft report with the public and request public comments. The next step will be to finalize the bridge evaluation report. In the final report, there'll be a section that documents public comments from today and discusses any items that MDT should consider during the design process. The design phase is anticipated to start in the beginning of 2021 and is anticipated to be completed later that year. In the design phase, the construction plans will be developed. The design phase will also include an opportunity for public comment prior to the final design later in 2021. The current schedule suggests the earliest construction could occur in 2022. However, the funding for this project is not available in 2022, so it's more likely that construction will occur sometime after 2022 when funding becomes available. Okay, while I still have the stage, I also wanted to touch briefly on MDT's Bridge Bureau's organization and the services we provide. The MDT Bridge Bureau is tasked with keeping Montana's bridges safe, resilient, economical, and reliable. Similar to this project's two-phase development approach, the Bridge Bureau is organized in two sections, the Bridge Management section and the Bridge Design section. MDT's Bridge Management section provides condition inspection and load rating evaluation for the 5,000 plus bridges across the state. The Bridge Management section also evaluates and analyzes overweight permit loads and performs bridge maintenance on state-owned bridges. MDT's Bridge Design section provides design and engineering management on bridge replacement, rehabilitation, and preservation projects. The Bridge Design section also establishes and maintains design criteria and standards, participates in research projects, and promotes design initiatives to improve bridge performance and value. Thanks for letting me speak here a little bit today, and I'll now hand it over to Brent Schiller.
Thank you, Andy. Hello, everyone. My name is Brent Schiller, and as I said earlier, I'm Forsgren Associates Project Manager. Our firm was tasked with performing field visits to each of the 11 bridges on Montana 37, review of that field data along with other data provided by MDT, and then to determine whether the bridges needed a patch and overlay or a full deck replacement type of repair. We are then tasked with preparing the plans package for the work to be done by a contractor. As part of the field work, our team not only looked at the bridges, but the needed traffic control to perform the repair work and the potential environmental impacts, and if guardrail at the bridge ends need to be repaired or replaced for safety purposes. I want to describe the work involved with the two main repair types I just mentioned. So as we go to the next slide, we're going to talk about patch and overlay. A patch and overlay type of repair involves removing unsound concrete or concrete that is saturated with high levels of de-icing salt, which will eventually cause deterioration. We then patch needed areas and provide a concrete overlay on the entire deck area. We anticipate this type of work will be performed one half at a time. So work will occur on one half while traffic uses the other half. We'll have that traffic control in place to regulate traffic going across the bridge as it'll be a single lane. And our traffic control engineer is going to go over the traffic control in a few moments. At this point, we have performed the field visits and prepared a draft report that MDT is reviewing. We are currently anticipating 5 of the 11 bridges will be patch and overlay projects. If you look at the map on the slide, you can see the bridges in orange show the bridges that are anticipated to need patch and overlay. They include the bridge in Libby over the BNSF Railroad, another bridge in Libby over the Kootenai River, a bridge over the Kootenai River near the Fisher River, a bridge over 5 Mile Creek, and a bridge over Sutton Creek. As you can see in the example photos that are also on the slide, the concrete decks are showing signs of deterioration and some previous repairs. In our review of the field data and testing show that decks have some high chloride content in the upper levels of the concrete deck, which is a good indication that further deterioration will occur if these areas of the deck are not removed, patched, and overlaid. We also found the need for bridge rails to be upgraded in some instances for safety purposes. So now as we go to the next slide, we're going to talk about those bridges that need a full deck replacement. And a deck replacement is, just like it sounds, a complete removal of the bridge deck and then replacing it with a new reinforced concrete deck. We also anticipate this work for the deck replacements will be performed one half at a time, just like I described for the patch and overlay. So work will be on one half while traffic is on the other half. And again, our traffic control engineer, Adam Bass, will talk about that shortly. Based on our current analysis, we are anticipating the other 6 of the 11 bridges will need a full deck replacement. If you look at the map at the slide again, we show those in orange as well. So the bridge over Cripple Horse Creek, the bridge over 10 Mile Creek, the bridge over Rock Gut, the bridge over Cadet Creek, bridge over Pinkham Creek, and the bridge over Tobacco River. Now, as you can see in the photos on the slide, the concrete decks here show much more deterioration and patching than the previous slide, which means these decks are in a more severe state of deterioration and in need of more extensive work. Our review of the field data and testing show that the decks have high chloride content deeper into the deck on these bridges, which makes patch and overlay unrealistic or simply more expensive than a full deck replacement. Since we'll be removing the entire deck, the existing bridge railing will also be removed with it, and the new deck will have the new bridge rail that's up to current safety standards. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Adam Bass to discuss the traffic control.
Thank you, Brent. I'm Adam Bass with Forsgren Associates as well, and I am going to go over the traffic control layout for all the bridges along Montana 37. And the project team anticipates that traffic during construction for all the bridges along Montana 37 will be controlled using a 2-way single lane traffic configuration that will close one lane at a time. This will allow for vehicles to use one lane while construction operations are conducted within the other lane. The temporary traffic signals will be placed a distance from the work zone to safely allow movement of vehicles through the construction zone during construction operations. To help reduce delays, the project team may choose to complete the bridge repairs over multiple construction seasons. This will limit the number of bridges under construction at a given time. And so next slide, please. And now the bridges near Libby are close enough together to where we anticipate working on them at the same time. Now, these bridges are over the BNSF rail line and the Kootenai River. We anticipate working on these at the same time to reduce impacts to traffic. Access to Riverfront Park and Thomas Street will be open throughout construction. Pedestrians will have all current access maintained with the use of a temporary crosswalk located on the north side of the Kootenai River. And as you can see, there's temporary signals to the north and south of the bridges, as well as along Thomas Street and the access to Riverfront Park. So with that, that concludes the temporary traffic control section of this presentation, and I'd like to turn it over to Pat Wickman to discuss the environmental considerations.
Thank you, Adam. So as part of all MDT construction projects, MDT is required to prepare an environmental study to document the effects of the action or project in this case on the social, economic, and natural environment. Guidance and rules for this comes under MEPA, which is the Montana Environmental Policy Act, and NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act. When NEPA is triggered, when there are federal funds from the Federal Highway Administration, which may be the case for this project. The size and scope of those effects, that is the significance of impact of the proposed action, that dictates the type and magnitude of the environmental document or study that is prepared. So for these bridge projects, MDT has had Forsgren conduct a site investigation of each bridge to look for potential environmental concerns and to document the environmental baseline at each site. We looked at nearby waters, wetlands, river users, bird nests present on the bridges, as well as potential for environmental contamination, and also the ability for wildlife to cross underneath each bridge, as well as staging areas. This information is summarized in the report soon to be released by MDT. From that review, it showed that no bridge had concerns serious enough for us to not assume that the project could be reviewed and permitted with an environmental study known as a categorical exclusion. These CAT-Xs have no significant impacts from the proposed project and do not require MDT to analyze alternatives to the proposed action. So future steps will be for MDT to prepare the CAT-X document, which will also include documentation of the public outreach process that we are doing concurrently. So to talk more in depth about the public outreach process, I'll turn it over to Brandon. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Yeah, right now I'd like to remind our attendees that you can ask questions through that question and answer box at any time. Just locate the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, click on it and ask questions as we go. And we'll answer all those questions here at the end of the presentation. So, public input collected as part of this online meeting and through the online survey, as well as the continued environmental and design analysis, will be considered in the development of the project and the planning for construction. MDT plans to hold in-person public meetings if and when possible in the future to share project information and to gather information from the public to help in the development of any plans. The next public meeting is planned for 2021 to present those design plans to the public. We would like to hold that in person if possible, but online meeting may be the route that we're going there as well. Construction could begin as early as 2022, depending on funding availability, as Andy discussed previously as well. MDT is planning to use a variety of methods to communicate with the public throughout the design and the construction of the project. Some of those methods include online and in-person meetings, direct mail, news media, social media, emails, and text messages, and always updates to the project website. I spoke a little bit earlier about an online survey, and this is where you can access our online survey through this website. This is the project website. If you have any friends or neighbors that were unable to participate in the online meeting session, you can direct them to the project website where they can view the recording of this presentation and then take the online survey. The survey includes questions about how to best communicate project information with you now and during construction, and you can submit that survey until November 1st. Again, I'd like to thank you for your participation in the development of the project today and this online open house. Keeping the public informed throughout the project is a priority for MDT. If you have any comments or questions at any time, please feel free to contact me. My name is Brandon Coates, and I'm the Public Involvement Manager with RBCI. And my email is brandon@rbci.net, and my phone number is on the screen there as well. I'll keep this slide up here for a little bit as we look to see if we have any questions to answer. And again, thank you for participating. So now we'll turn it over to the question and answer. Kate, do we have any questions come in from the public?
Brandon, we haven't had any questions yet, so I would invite anyone to let us know. We can wait here a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll give a few minutes for you to ask those questions. Like I said before, the Q&A button is at the bottom of your screen. It should pop open a text box that you can type that question into and submit it, and we'll answer those live. If you have questions in the future that you think of after this open house, please be sure to, you can email those questions to me, or you can go to the project website where there's a comment form, and we will have the survey, the online survey, and this recorded presentation up there by the 22nd of October, if not sooner.
Brandon, we just got a question from Ray. And he said, do you have a general idea of how long the longest traffic delay would be? Maybe 45 minutes at the Cripple Horse Creek. Brent, do you want to take that, or maybe?
So I'll jump in and grab that one. This is Bob.
Okay.
MDT, we have a policy where our goal is to limit maximum wait times as much as possible to 15 minutes or less. In this case, you know, it's a pretty low travel count. We don't see a lot of traffic on there. So the signals likely will be able to switch over and allow traffic through that one-way segment in a relatively short order. The only time that might be the case where you'd have to wait longer is if our contractor needs to use the travel lane, if you will, for delivering materials or equipment into the project. But generally, I would expect most delays to be 5 minutes or less. Like I say, we do have a policy where we try to limit to 15 minutes. But construction does bring up always there's some unexpected things that can happen. So, but generally, I would expect delays in the neighborhood of 5 minutes. Could stretch up to 15 minutes, but rarely should they be above 15 minutes.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you for that question, Ray. Looks like we don't have any other questions coming in at this moment, so we'll probably end this presentation here in the next 2 minutes. So we'll give about 2 minutes here, see if any other questions come in. Like I said before, please feel free to contact me at any time with any questions, and we'll be sure to get those to the appropriate project team member to get answered as well.
Brandon, we have another question from Ray. His question is, do you have any priorities? For example, maybe the Cadet Creek needs to be done first, etc. I'm not sure who wants to jump in and answer that one.
I can, this is Brent Schiller. I'll take a quick stab at that one. So I don't think we've identified any priorities that would put one bridge above the other, unless something comes out of this, you know, these public meetings that there's a reason to prioritize one or the other. Our thought was that we're going to set up the specifications for the contractor to allow him some flexibility, and you know, also limit them to not open up too many bridges at one time where there's a whole bunch of delays along the route. So, but give them the flexibility to set up their operations that's efficient for them and makes the bid costs favorable to MDT as well. So, you know, as we kind of said, there's, hopefully I don't get these switched around, 5 patch and overlay and 6 deck replacements. You know, it may come down to which ones they can do the same over and over and the most efficiently, and that may set the order for the contractor. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you, Brent.
Mhm.
Okay, well, seeing no other questions, I think we'll go ahead and end our presentation here. And I want to just, again, thank you for participating and encourage you to fill out the online survey and to send us any questions, and make sure you share the project site with your friends and family so we can get some more input and that information about the projects out there to the public. Appreciate your time today, and thank you.